Hello, I'm Ericka Sallee of True Synergy, and welcome back to my channel. True Synergy is a personal coaching and professional development company where I help women and organizations just like you to figure out what stands in the way of their success. And so, if these are conversations that you want to continue to hear, along with simple strategies to help you move beyond those barriers, then I do encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Go ahead and share it out, and then turn the notifications on so that you are in the know when new videos are uploaded. So the topic for today is inclusion. Now, I know that many organizations are talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion as well. They should. We want to make sure that we have a workforce that represents people with different experiences, different ideas, different levels of education. We want to make sure that we are also an equitable organization, because we want to be able to demonstrate and provide people with the resources and the tools that they need to meet their needs. And then, of course, inclusion is around allowing people to feel this sense of connectedness, to feel like they are a part of the overall objectives, not just of the team, but of the organization as a whole. And so I wanted to share 3 specific areas where inclusion can be demonstrated. There's lots of others to consider, but in this conversation, I want to stay focused on these 3. The first is having a voice. It doesn't matter if someone feels like they have a seat at the table if they are not allowed to be able to share ideas, to provide their opinions or new perspectives. And so when we're talking about allowing people to feel included, it's as simple as asking, well, what do you think about that? Do you have anything to add? Is there something that we haven't thought about that perhaps you can share with us? It's really giving people an opportunity to speak and to be able to share. They can share their experience, they can give you a different perspective to consider, and these are things that are very valuable, especially when you're working on day-to-day projects or big projects where you need lots of different collective voices to be able to be a part of that. And the other thing to consider is that you might ask, well, what do you think? How do you feel? Do you have anything else to add? And someone may say no, they don't, which is perfectly okay. But the fact that you ask them allows them to know that they have, or feel like they have, a voice to speak if they had something to add. Okay? The second is that sense of belonging. Like, people feel connected when they feel like their organization sees them or values them or knows what's important to them. Simple things like recognizing not only when someone has a due date coming up or a deadline to meet, and you're checking in to see if they need anything, or are they on target, or can you support them, but it's the other simple things too, like knowing about do their kids have an upcoming championship, and celebrating them for that, and recognizing when people's birthdays come up, if that's something that they celebrate, and allowing them to feel that sense of belonging and connectedness from the human perspective. And so making sure that you allow time to connect with your team in a way that says, hey, I know we've got to focus on the business at hand, but let's connect to see how everybody's doing. Is there something that's going on in your space that you want to celebrate that's really significant to you? Is there something that you feel like you need that we can support you in? All of those things make people feel like you care about who they are. And so that sense of feeling that community and that collaboration really makes people feel like they are included. And then lastly is around learning and development. When people know that they have the opportunity to grow, to learn, to explore, to tap into new things that perhaps they've never done before, and you're giving them that opportunity to do that, it makes them feel that sense of belonging, and that sense that you care about their development and where they perhaps want to go in their career. When you have a group of people who don't get information about training, when you have people who say, oh, I didn't even know that was happening. Oh, well, why weren't we included? Well, a simple way to fix that is to make sure that training is made available to everyone. Now, I know people have different levels of experience and different roles, and so specific training may be for a group of people. but to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to get the type of training that would help them in their needs, their role, and the direction that they want to go in their career is very important. Even allowing them to sit in on a meeting or be a part of a different project or work with a different team makes them feel like they are learning, that they're growing, and that they feel valued enough with the skill that they have and perhaps new skills that they want to develop. Now, there's a couple of simple things too. When I think about inclusion, these are things that we might not really think about. But let's say, for instance, if you're sitting around the table, you're having a team meeting, and you've invited someone to come and speak to your team. And because you've invited this person, the person comes in, they sit at the table, there's 10 people around the table, and this particular person is only speaking directly to you. They're looking at you, they're making the comments to you, but everyone else around the table doesn't seem to be in the room. And so how do you think the people in the room will feel if they know this person is only speaking directly to you, only making eye contact with you? Do you think they feel included? Well, of course, the answer is no. So a simple way to demonstrate inclusion is to be sure that you make eye contact with everyone in the room, that you go around the room and again you say, do you have any questions? Is there something you'd like to add? Is there something that I forgot to mention? Is there more that you'd like to know? Like, all of those things allow people to feel like, okay, I'm not just sitting here, I'm not just a body in a seat, but I do have the opportunity to add, I do have the opportunity to ask and to provide opinions. And just a simple eye contact is one way to make people feel like, hey, I'm here. He or she sees me, and that's important. That makes people feel like I'm here. I'm not just like an inanimate object. And so making eye contact, being sure to connect with people in what you're saying, and making sure they feel like, you know, hey, yep, I see you. I see that you're here, and you're more than welcome to add if you would like to. And then the other thing is that, let's say, for instance, you have a person who's having a conversation, and then someone wants to ask a question or wants to provide additional information, and the person who was speaking before says, oh, no, we don't need to talk about that. No, we don't have time for that. And the person is immediately shut down. Or let's say, for instance, there's an idea that's being shared, and then someone comes in and adds some more to it, and the person says, no, that's not what I'm talking about, but then proceeds to say the exact same thing that the person before said. And so the person's like, well, man, I just said that. But you said no when I said that. And so when that happens, people feel like, number one, I'm being shut down. And when I feel like I'm shut down, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm not going to say anything else. I'm not going to provide any more information. I'm not going to give any more perspectives. And so we're really then cutting ourselves off from being able to hear a different perspective and perhaps taking in information that we need to consider. But if a person is constantly cut off, or, trying to maybe dumb down what they're saying, and then they proceed to say it, and it makes it look like, oh, I'm taking the credit for this. I know you said it, but let me say it. So here's the thing. In those situations, let's say you might not have the time. Say the meeting is coming to an end and you're running out of time. A way to make that person feel included is to say, you know what, I know that you have something to add, and what you have to add is valuable. So even though we may be running out of time in this session, can we schedule more time, and then I can hear your thoughts? Or maybe we'll add it to the agenda for our next meeting, and then you'll be the first one to bring up your idea. So you want to make sure that you're not totally dismissing the person, and that you are specifically being clear. Yes, we do have a deadline, but yes, I also hear you, and I want to give you a chance so that I can hear you more. And then the other part of that is, when someone jumps in and says, continues on with the conversation, you're like, well, I just said that. It's okay to say, I think we're saying the same thing. I think what you just said is something that I also mentioned. I think that we're saying the same thing. So rather than shutting down, and I know it's not easy, but it's also appropriate for the person to come back and say, I think we're saying the same thing. You just stated that, I stated the same thing, so we're in the same place. Because in that way, you are actually making yourself included in the conversation as opposed to waiting for someone to give you permission to be included. So I know there's a lot of different layers to this conversation, but hopefully there's something that you were able to grab. Take it back and use it however you need to use it. But if you have additional questions and you say, okay, I hear you, I have some specific examples about what's happening in my space, then all you have to do is reach out to me at TrueSynergy.org, share those questions. We can spend 30 to 45 minutes talking about what's happening in your space and perhaps how I can support you. So I look forward to seeing you all again real soon. Until I do, take care and be well.